No, Michel, I'm on a sort of a batsman's holiday. I've taken my jacket and tools in case you get into a problem as usual, so I can sort it out for
It
you.
won't be needed.
Won't be so sure.
The only work you need to do today is choosing the food. We won't have even to think too much about the wine. I think Jancis will give us a hand on that one.
Try. I'll try.
Couldn't have a better.
Well, I think the first thing to be said is that it's a great art to putting wine and food together. But when it comes down to it, there's only any point in practicing that art if you want to. But you can actually drink any wine with any food. It is physically possible, and no thunderbolt from on high is going to come down and strike you down.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah?
I'm
You
glad
agree
to
with that?
approve.
You buy that?
Totally
yeah.
approve.
Yeah. On the other hand, when you have food as good as yours, monsieur,
Oh, mine.
yours
Mine,
certainly,
mine,
and
yes.
I
But I
suspect
wouldn't-
yours.
Maybe.
No, I wouldn't grumble on that one. I will accept that
Right.
he's better than mine. He's my guest today.
Anyway, food of Roux Brothers quality. It actually cries out for some thought to be put into what wine you would choose to drink with it. You needn't get hung up about red wine goes with meat and only white wine goes with fish, I think, do you?
Well, I don't.
No.
Absolutely. Drink white wine very happily with meat.
It's often a question of mood as far as colour, you know, whether you're in a sort of white wine mood or a red wine mood. And I always think the most important thing to think about a dish to get focused on before you choose your wine is what sort of weight it is, how strong the flavours are. Because then you can decide how strongly flavoured a wine you need to go with it. And I'm trying to think about balance as it affects wines. And if you're putting more than one wine with a meal, then the general policy is to work from young to old and vaguely white to red, although that's not so important. Dry to sweet, definitely. Because if you have a sweet wine early on and then you follow it with a dry wine tastes terrible and very, very acid. And generally speaking, you go upwards in quality as the meal goes on. This is the traditional view, so that you hit your high point perhaps with the cheese, having had a nice straightforward white to begin with and a good medium red with the main course, and then traditionally you have your star red with the cheese.
Now, I certainly have a different point of view, and a very strong point of view on wine with cheese. You go to those dinners, and while I agree that if you're going to drink two red or even a white and a red, that you should follow it with the best red for the main meal, and certainly a lovely sweet wine. But for the cheese, I think it's total murder.
I quite
to
agree.
Open. But you see that so often.
It's tradition, isn't it?
It is tradition.
And people
to follow
That's right.
dry
People
wine.
haven't experimented enough to actually work out whether red wine, dry red wine, is the right thing to go with cheese. They've just accepted
Yeah.
the rule book, haven't they?
A côte rôtie, for example, with cheese is fantastic. But I've seen people opening first gross claret with cheese.
You do mean to do that?
No, I do that with the main course. Do that with the main course.
It all depends, not to sound too pretentious about it, on the sort of cheese, doesn't it? I mean, I happen to think that English cheese is usually a happier partner for wine than the average French cheese.
Yes, because the flavor is not so pronounced. And I'm not saying they're non-flavorous. I'm a great lover of English cheese when they are nicely done. But you're absolutely right. There are some cheeses, Maroilles, for example.
So strong.
I mean, who wants
Ugh.
to drink a 1945 Lafitte with a Maroilles? But not me.
And that texture of cheese, typically like a ripe camembert, and even some Italian cheeses that are so sort of oily, they kind of
Creamy.
coat
Yep.
your mouth, and really a fine wine would be wasted with them, wouldn't it?
Ruin.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So what are we going to favour then? The best red wine with the main course, if it's a red, if you want to drink a red
that
wine.
would be me.
I
Yes.
think that's very sensible,
Yes.
and I think we should try to change the gastronomic world towards
And
this.
on cheese, I would not be afraid. On the contrary, I'll enjoy wine from abroad. A wine from Lebanon.
You mean non-English?
Non-English wine for the cheese.
When you say from abroad, you mean outside France?
Outside France, yes, absolutely. A red from Lebanon, or from Italy, or from Spain. They go so well with cheese.
Anything with a strong flavour.
If you have a strong cheese.
Yeah. So usually, a strong flavour and full body, which usually means somewhere where there's lots of sunshine
Lot
to
of
ripen
sun.
the grapes.
That's right.
So it generally means a wine coming from somewhere a little bit closer to the equator than France, say.
You saying word that I don't understand. Equator with wine. You see, you're so knowledgeable. Well, I'll have to turn around the conversation into cooking and try to catch you on it.
I'm getting hungry, see, I don't mind talking about
Michel
food.
when you talk about those wine from abroad.
He doesn't like
He's so chauvinist.
The new one, I
You
love
know,
it.
the new beer, yeah.
Well, with an Australian wife, you
I-
really ought
Does he,
to.
does he list it?
Yeah.
Ask him if he lists it.
Well, I thought I would leave that little...
I list it.
I know. I know
Well,
you're very open-minded,
You've got a very
Albert.
international restaurant. You do need it. You need international
But it's only
wine.
sort of
You know,
little
London, you know what I
yokels
mean?
who come here.
Tourists.
You're not getting out like that.
Yes, I am.
I let people judge you.
I've seen the limos, you know, straight from Heathrow to here and back again. I think you have a pretty international fiancé.
Do you think?
Thank you. Thank you.
I haven't seen that one.
Uh-huh. Don't you look at the addresses on your credit card slips that come?
I
from
always
there?
do.
Yeah. I think. Well, we'll see when we come to choosing a wine with whatever we're going to eat,
Mm.
whether France can really do the job.
I think so.
Well, I know you think so, but
In
let's discuss it.
fact, my wine list, as you will see, is pretty short. I only list 350 beans, but it should be something like 800 or 1,000. But I can't carry the stock. Like that.
Yeah, I would argue that you only need 20, maybe 30 wines in an average restaurant wine list to represent every possible eventuality. As long as you choose enough different styles of wine and different weights and different levels of maturity, then you can always find one wine to go with any sort of dish that you're likely to eat.
I would expect you to think that way.
And I suppose some people might find it a bit confusing to have, say, 4 Chateauneufs and 4 Merceaux to choose from, and they might prefer you to choose your favourites. Now, I want to get on and choose my meal,
Me
frankly.
too.
So, let's start to think about what we might have.
Well, we've got a lovely consommé au tomate, but choosing the meal with the wine on that one will be pretty difficult. Eh?
Well, I would prefer to go for your soufflé suissesse,
Yes.
actually.
Yes, we're doing it with a little mushroom. It's a new version of Albert.
Okay. But
It's a copy, you know. You're not
No, it's-
having the real macaw.
I
Yeah.
see.
Having
I
a
see.
copy of
It's a
it.
sort of rustic country bumpkin version.
That's right.
Yes,
Right.
Albert wanted something more, more fine. And there is a lot of mushrooms around, from time to time around the year. So you had a go at it. And it not only it looks good, but it does taste good. And what about the main course then?
So the supreme of saumon, that's
Wrapped in spinach leaf, cooked steam, with a few little winkles and nice little scallops around and the nage. Very light sauce, very light dish as a dish.
so no particularly strong flavours, no
No.
rich sauces. So you could have really quite a delicate wine,
Yes,
even of either colour, with quite
yes.
a light
Yeah.
acid wine
Yes.
even with that.
Yes.
Right.
The DAC, in fact, will be something much stronger. The thought will have to be more difficult on the choice of the
Good afternoon,
wine.
madam.
Ah.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hello, Diego.
Comment ça va, Diego?
Very well, merci beaucoup.
I think we're almost ready, Diego.
Assistance?
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will explain all those dishes beautifully
Pleasure,
well. But you
yes.
know, Albert been there. He already gave a description of the soufflé
Oh,
suissesse.
marvelous.
I give a description of the suprême de saumon. So why don't we move on ordering now? Are you happy?
I'd like these lovely rich soufflés.
To start with.
Yes.
Yes.
What about you, Albert?
I'll follow that too.
So that's 2 soufflé. I think Robin would love a soufflé. She joined us later for lunch. So
Very well,
that's
sir.
3 soufflé. I will have the consommé au tomate.
Consommé, yes, with the
I
weather
feel like
today,
it.
yes, we need that, I think.
It's not all that warm today.
No, it's not.
Yes, and then to follow.
Well, I'd like to set myself a challenge of trying to find a wine to go with this duck.
Yes.
With cloves and
That
honey.
is
So
beautiful
you're going to have the
also.
duck.
Yes.
Oh.
Sounds delicious, but a great problem.
Yeah,
for,
that's
a
going.
wine.
That's going to be a challenge for the wine.
Yeah.
Yes. And what about you, Albert?
Same here.
The same.
So that's 2 duck. Knowing Robin, she will have a suprême de saumon.
Marvelous,
So
wrapped in a spinach
yes,
leaves, huh?
yes, definitely. And I will go with the salmon as well.
Salmon as well.
Now the dessert cheese will see you at the little stage. Right. Thank you.
Thank
Diego.
you very
Thank
much.
you, Diego.
Can you ask? Can we ask Louis to come and see us in a
With
second?
pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
We wish you
Thanks.
enjoy the afternoon and a très bon appétit.
Merci.
Thank you.
Thank you.